Sparta was one of the first military states. It was led by two kings and five other officials called ephors. Their society was completely focused around the military. When babies were born, sick babies were left out on a mountain to die. The strong babies were put with their families until age of 7. At this age, they went into military boot camp. They were trained to become the ultimate killing machine. They were pitted against each other to become stronger and learn to kill without remorse. There was also a class of slaves called helots, who ran the farms while the hoplites were at war, and that the hoplites could kill at will. Women had a lot of freedom, but not in war. They had more responsibilities such as cooking and cleaning. Culture was mainly focused on loyalty to the state and the military. That's why the Spartans valued war and their military. Sparta consisted of Spartans, Helots, and Perosi. Spartans were the soldiers and military of Sparta. The Helots were slaves. The Perosi were craftspeople. The Spartans were outnumbered by Helots. Spartans were allowed to kill Helots for being too intelligent or too fit.
Women and marriage. Spartan women were independent. They enjoyed having power and freedom. Unlike most periods in history, women had lots of freedom in Sparta. Even though they didn't fight in the war or get involved in the war, they had important tasks at their households such as cooking, cleaning, and making clothing. However, when the women had their children, they were pressured to give birth to males. They were pressured to give birth to boys because boys would grow up and be eligible to fight in the war and be involved in the military. If men chose not to marry at an earlier age, such as in the 20s, it would be considered a shame. When women were married, they usually shaved their heads as part of their culture. Even though the couples were married, they still lived apart.
Military. The Spartan military was considered the best in the world. Spartan hoplites were trained to fight as a unit, with no soldier superior to any other. They were the dominant Greek city-state for around a century because of their military prowess. They fought many foes and defeated them all. The Spartan soldier or hoplite all carried the same gear: a round bronze wooden shield, a 6-foot spear, and a short sword. Their armor consists of a bronze breastplate and greaves, and a helmet that completely protected their head. The Spartan hoplites fought in a formation called a phalanx. The Spartan army won almost every battle they ever fought, partially because they refused to ever give up.
Spartan soldiers were feared for their military prowess, primarily because of the formations they fought in. It was called the phalanx, in which every soldier was equal. Basically what they would do is they would form ranks of generally around 10 men. Each of those soldiers would lift their shields to form a shield wall, which would break attacks from their opponent. They would use heavy spears called pikes as the deterrent, and they would use them to attack. They were generally around 6 to 10 feet, so they could hold off an attack before the enemy could get close enough to use their swords. After that, if the enemy tried to shoot arrows at them with archers, the second, third, fourth, and however many other ranks needed to could raise their shields to block, basically keeping the arrows off the formation by creating a turtle shell. If the enemy got too close to use the pikes, they would simply drop them and use their swords.
Geographically, Sparta was located on a peninsula south of Athens. At the height of their power, they controlled the entire peninsula and were at peace with the rest of Greece. Unfortunately, they didn't last, and Sparta began to decline. Socially, Sparta was the dominant city-state for about a century. This was immediately following the Peloponnesian War, in which they defeated the Ephesians. Famous battles and wars. Sparta had a long history of war, which is expected from a nation who focuses entirely on battle. The most famous wars are the Persian and Peloponnesian Wars. In the Peloponnesian Wars, the Peloponnesian League, led by Sparta, rebelled against Athenian control. The Spartans ultimately won and became the new superior city-state of Greece. In the Persian War, the Persian Empire invaded Greece after Athens gave aid to some of the Persians' rebellious territories. The Spartans and other city-states banded together to defeat the Persians. This war led to the most famous battle in Spartan history, the Battle of Thermopylae. This battle was fought near a city called Thermopylae in Greece. Thermopylae was the gateway to Greece, and the Persian army needed to take it to attack the rest of Greece. 300 Spartans led this pass for 2 days against thousands of Persians. The Spartans most likely would have won the battle, but a traitor told the Persians about a way around the Spartan positions, and they were slaughtered to a man, fighting all the time. Quiet. Go. Shh. Military. The Spartan military was considered the best in the world. Spartan hoplites were trained to fight as a unit, with no soldier superior to any other. Trevor, what are you? You did that on purpose.